don't want to, that's fine. Okay. Come on, Maya. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Did she remember her sunglasses?
She did.
Okay. We're going to be taking a look today through a part of the book of Proverbs. So it was fun to see that the Bible study this morning was on wisdom. Because guess what we're talking about today? Wisdom. The book of Proverbs is mostly accredited to King Solomon, although there were some other authors in there. And the first 9 chapters are written more in a prose and poetry fashion. And then from then on, you hear more of what we really tend to think of as Proverbs, which are the little sayings, 1 or 2 sentences that are just little nuggets of wisdom that stand by themselves. But I'm going to read a little bit from chapters 1 and 2, and then we'll focus on some of the later verses. Proverbs from chapter 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. To understand a proverb and an enigma, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. I've been there. I've been the one who was standing or sitting and doing something, and someone came up and said, "Let me teach you another way." And in my pride, at least in my head, I said, "You got nothing you can teach me. I got this. I know what I'm doing." But sometimes they do teach me something. Never back away from the opportunity to learn something new, because you don't know where it's going to come from. Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 through 9. My son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding. Yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding. If you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. He guards the paths of justice and preserves the way of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice, equity, and every good path. There's a lot of promises in this section of Proverbs. And they're provisional promises. Like many of the promises of God, he says, if you do this, then I will do that. If you obey me, you will be blessed by me. So what are the provisions here? If you receive, if you treasure, if you apply your heart, if you cry out for discernment, if you seek wisdom as silver or as hidden treasure, if you do all of that, then you will understand and find knowledge of God. You will understand righteousness and justice and equity and every good path. Well, what's the opposite of that? If you do not seek, if you do not apply, if you do not open your heart, then you're not going to get these other blessings. He wants to teach you. He wants to give you wisdom, but he wants you to want it, and he wants you to be willing to work for it. It's not going to be a passive deal. It's okay, I believe in God, therefore I have all the wisdom of God. Sorry, not going to be that easy. And gentlemen, I apologize, but I'm only reading what's in the Bible. Wisdom is a shield. Don't kill the messenger. Do you want it? Do you want it enough to search for it as though it were silver and rubies and emeralds and gold? Well, it's here. And the promises that are here are not just for Solomon and his son, because God doesn't play favorites. He'll raise specific people up for specific jobs, but the promise of wisdom is to all of us. Jesus said, before he ascended to heaven after his crucifixion, he said, I am sending you my Spirit, and he will be your comforter, and he will be your advocate, he will be your teacher, he will bring back to your remembrance all the things that you have learned of me. In other words, he will give you wisdom. And more importantly, he will give you God's wisdom, not the world's wisdom. So let's jump ahead. Here's those conditions. If you will do all of these things, if you will receive, if you'll treasure, if you will apply, then you will understand and find knowledge of God. So let's jump to Proverbs 14:26 through 30. In the fear of the Lord there is strong confidence, and his children will have a place of refuge. Strong confidence, not boasting. Strong confidence allows you to accomplish what God has given you to accomplish, but you don't do it in arrogance. You don't say, hey, I'm on a mission from God, and God has blessed me, and God is doing this, and God, and God, and God, and building me, and me, and I, and I, and me, and I. Confidence accomplishes the work of God without bragging about it. You can talk about it. You can bless someone, and they'll say, well, why are you doing this? Well, God asked me to help you. Let them know that God is working to improve their life, to bless them, to care for them, to love them. And he's doing it through you. That's okay. We are called to be vessels of the Spirit of the Lord in order to do the work of the Lord. Be confident in what the Lord is calling you to do. And he will bless you to do what you need to do for his sake. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, to turn away from the snares of death. There is life in God, and death in ignoring God. There is life as Jesus described it, everlasting life. You remember from John 17, the beautiful prayer. Jesus defined everlasting life as knowing God. And who could you possibly want as a better friend than God? In a multitude of people is a king's honor, but the lack of people is the downfall of a prince. Okay, this seems a little out of context with other things that are being said here. That's the way Proverbs reads in these later books. What's in one verse doesn't necessarily connect to the next verse. But what's he saying here? He's saying that if you've got a wise ruler over the kingdom, then the kingdom will grow. The kingdom will expand. The people will prosper. And if you've got a fool on the throne, the kingdom will dwindle. There will be fewer people there. There will be less prosperity there. So look, when you have the ability, look at the choices you are making for your leaders. And do your best to choose wise leaders. He who is slow to wrath has great understanding, but he who is impulsive exalts folly. So we've talked about this before in other contexts from other verses, but being slow to anger and slow to speak is a good thing. When we react in anger and we react to that adrenaline that is flowing through our bodies trying to make us hurry up because the body thinks it's in danger, when we respond to that first, we run the risk of saying things that can't be unsaid. It doesn't matter how many times you apologize for an insult, the insult is spoken and will remain in the heart of the person you said it to. Yeah, we tease people for having long memories. How come you still remember that one thing I said 10 years ago? Because it hurt. That's why. Impulsive reaction to anger is going to cause pain. A slow response to anger is the wiser course. It's not rocket science. But we're accustomed to reacting to our flesh because we're attached to it. The whole concept of striving to be more godly is a separation of focus from the flesh to the spirit. Verse 30, a sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bones. A sound heart is life to the body. When people mourn with them. When people cry with them. When people are celebrating, celebrate with them. But the act of love, godly love, Christian love, is to take people who are broken of heart and help them heal so that they can be whole again, so that they can be functional again, so that they can, once they are healed, be a testimony to the love and the power of God. They can turn to another person who is hurting and say, I was hurting too, but God helped. He helped me, he'll help you. The envy is a rottenness to the bone. Any of you who have gone through the devastation of having a family member struggle with a disease that is in the bone, you know how difficult it is for the body to fight that. You know how difficult it is to be healed from that depth of sickness. Things that attack you at the level of the bone are eating away at your life force. And this says that envy will do that. Seeing that someone else has something that you wish you had is envy. Again, it's not rocket science. But if you let that become a part of you, if you spend too much time thinking about what they have that you don't have, it sets a disease in your bone, in the depth of your physical body, which is going to be devastating. It's as bad as the disease of unthankfulness and ingratitude. When you can't be thankful for what you have, instead of being saddened by what you don't have. It gnaws at you. It weakens you. It sickens you at the core. Don't let it happen. Stop it. Get rid of the envy. Learn to be happy that Tom has a new car, even though I don't. Good for Tom. Maybe he'll at least give me a ride in it once in a while. Let me borrow it to go to the prom. No, I'm not going to a prom anytime soon. When you can be joyful for someone else, it makes a difference in your heart, in the depth of you. My father-in-law, Wally, was like that. God bless him. And this man had it hard. At some point, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. It was nasty. And so he lost a good chunk of his esophagus and stomach. And after that, and after the radiation and the chemotherapy, they said 5 years max. 15 years later, he finally succumbed to death. I know deep in my heart that one of the reasons he lived so long under those circumstances is because he could be happy for anyone, for anything. His friend John wins $50 on a lottery ticket. You would think Wally had won it himself. He was so happy for John. That ability to show joy in the face of your own adversity is a gift from God.
I need to show you something.
Don't let it slip away from you.
Mama, look.
The ability to be joyful over the sound of a happy child, even when it's not yours. Hold on to those moments. They will help keep your heart and your bones healthy. And so will the wisdom of the Lord. It's true we can't know everything about the mind of God. There are aspects of God that we will never understand until maybe when we stand next to him in heaven, and even then I'm not sure we'll get it. But he has given us a treasury of wisdom in Scripture. New Testament, Old Testament, it's there. If there's anyone here today who has never made a decision to let God be the Lord of your life, to be able to walk in the wisdom of the Lord, but also to walk in the salvation of the Lord, to receive that wonderful gift that only Jesus could give. If that's you today, this is the perfect day to come forward. If you're watching online and you can't come forward, that's okay. God can hear you anytime, any place. In your heart. And open your mouth and call on the name of Jesus. Not enough to just wish about it or think about it. He wants us to use our voices. He wants us to say, Jesus, save me. Make me whole. Let's give thanks to the Lord for all that he has given to us, by giving back a portion in our tithes and offerings.